And hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Rich Sports Talk. Sports Talk worth a million. I'm your host, Nolan Rich. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And, of course, the big news out of Philadelphia, Carson Wentz signing an extension with the Philadelphia Eagles. What does it mean for the Eagles, Carson Wentz, and what it also means for the NFC East? But we'll get to the NFC East in a moment. And this was an interesting contract because when the news came out that he had signed an extension, they'll pay him $32 million a year, $107.9 guaranteed. It's a 4-year extension, $128 million overall. Some people, and I can understand the initial reaction because this has been something I've been critical of Carson Wentz, where I'm not so sure about that. I mean, he's missed the last 2 end of the seasons with injury, and he's never won a playoff game for the Eagles. So I'm not sure if that's a good idea, but let's face it, the Eagles, they're all in on Wentz. And in terms of talent, there's no question Wentz is the better quarterback. Now, you hope he can stay healthy. That's going to be the big question. But if he does stay healthy, this is a great deal for the Eagles. And there's a couple factors into that. People are going to look at the money and say, wow, this is a lot of money. It's actually a bargain. It's an extension. It's an extension. So this contract hit doesn't kick in until after 2020. The next 2 years, he's still going to be on his rookie deal. So the Eagles now were very smart about this. And this front office has done a very good job, and I give them a lot of credit. Because they've done 2 important things with this contract. Number one, they've given themselves a window over the next 2 years to be aggressive in free agency. They can spend big on 1-year, 2-year contracts to get pieces around Carson Wentz while he's still on that rookie deal. And number 2, they now know when that cap hit will hit. So they can prepare themselves with their extensions, with their rosters, with potential cuts. So when it does hit, they won't be surprised. It won't come out of nowhere. They now have 2 years to plan. Okay, this is when the Carson Wentz extension will hit. I mean, it's obvious. They got their quarterback. But they got him for cheap money. I want you to think about this. Today, in the NFL, if the contract kicked in today, he'd be the 4th highest paid quarterback in the league. People are saying, well, wait, that's a lot of money. Yeah, today. You do realize this isn't going to kick in for 2 years. You don't think other quarterbacks are going to reset the market? You don't think there's going to be quarterbacks that are getting over $35 million? By the time we actually hit this extension, I doubt Carson Wentz will be a top 5 paid quarterback in the league, which is very smart for the Eagles. And I think they use the injuries to their advantage. Because if they had waited, and let's say Carson Wentz had an MVP season and won a playoff game this year, looked healthy, Carson easily could have said, look, you're paying me right now. You're going to make me the highest paid quarterback in the league. But with this, it works for both sides. Carson Wentz gets his money. He gets the commitment from the organization. Because don't forget, at the end of the offseason, there was a little bit of turmoil in that locker room. People calling out Carson Wentz in that locker room, talking about how great Nick Foles was. Well, we knew they were going to make this decision, especially when they released Nick Foles. But now they've made it official. He's the quarterback. He's the guy. There's no more questions. And this is great for them because, to me, they have the best quarterback, if he's healthy, in the NFC East. And they, to me, are the team to beat in the NFC East over the next 5 years. But more importantly, and I thought about this. I really thought about this. Did the Eagles do this to shoot a shot at Dallas? Now, I don't think that was the main intent. But I really want you to think about this. Did they think and say, you know what? Let's do this right now and put some pressure on the Cowboys. Because the Cowboys, they're also negotiating with a young quarterback. A quarterback that has won them a playoff game. But a quarterback that, let's face it, is not the same talent as Carson Wentz. He's not. And I like Dak Prescott. He's a very good quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. But right now, you don't think Dak Prescott in the negotiations can say, look, I've won 2 division titles. I've played the Eagles well. I got us a division win last year. and he couldn't even finish the season, and they're going to pay him $32 million a year. The Cowboys don't have the luxury of time. They have to get this done, and they don't have a better option. Think of just the landscape in this division over the last month and a half. The Giants have drafted Daniel Jones, and the Redskins have drafted Dwayne Haskins. They could potentially be their franchise quarterbacks for the next decade. The Eagles now have invested in Carson Wentz. The only team that hasn't made the decision yet is the Cowboys. And for everyone saying, well, Dak should take a pay cut, why would he? He's played for the league minimum on America's team. Not just any NFL team, America's team. He's helped restore that brand. Have you noticed how the Cowboys are a perennial playoff team with him? And unlike Philadelphia, who can now prepare for that contract, they have a 2-year buffer. Cowboys don't have that luxury, and I think they're going to lose some great players because of the Dak Prescott contract. I said this before. To me, the Eagles' window, it might not win a Super Bowl this year, but long-term, they have the best future in the NFC East. For me, the Cowboys, this is the year. They have to be all in. And they're showing you that they're all in. Bringing Jason Witten out, retiring. They traded for Amari Cooper last year. They are going all in because they realize they're not going to be able to afford everyone because Zeke's going to need a contract. Those great pass rushers are going to need a contract. Even if they phase out some of those older offensive linemen, they're not going to have as good of an offensive line. To me, the Cowboys, their window is this year. I still think they'll be good after this year, but more so than the Eagles, they need it this year. See, the Eagles have planned very well. They've not only planned for the short term, but they've also planned for the long term. Dallas is all in the short term. And they have to pay Dak because what's the other option? You're really going to let Dak go? Now, they could franchise tag him, but that's going to pay him a top 5 salary. And that could anger him to hold out. That's not going to be a good look. That's not going to be a good look for America's team if the Cowboys quarterback holds down training camp. It's not going to be a good look. And that's why I said the Eagles, did they do this to put pressure on the Cowboys? Said, hey, we got our guy. You going to get yours? Because the Cowboys, they're in a no-win situation. They're going to be too good of a team to get a high draft pick and have the draft capital to go and trade up to get a great quarterback next year. And even if they got a great quarterback, they're going to have a rookie quarterback. And that's not going to work too well. I mean, they're basically stuck with Dak Prescott, and they're going to have to pay him. And when he sees this, you don't think he's going to say, I know Dak isn't a big ego guy, but do you really think he's going to want to take less than $32 million a year? Especially after playing for the league minimum. We forget Carson Wentz. He was the number 2 pick in the draft. He had a fully guaranteed contract worth millions of dollars. Dak Prescott paid for most of his career, not even making $1 million a year as a 4th-round pick. Bringing America's team, the biggest brand in American sports, to the postseason twice. Making them relevant again. Making the star on the helmet important again. He was on a discount. You really think he's going to take a pay cut? I don't think so. So the Eagles, once again, commend this front office. Did a great job this offseason. I love the trades they made. I love the draft they had. But once again, I said this is a great front office because they don't just plan for the short term and the long term. That's how you have success in the NFL. You have to be thinking both the short and the long term. And it's hard. It's incredibly hard. But right now, this Eagles team, they made a great move with Wentz. And hopefully he can stay healthy. But if he does, they still have on his rookie deal for the next 2 seasons. And by the time this contract hits, I'm not going to be shocked if he's not a top 5 quarterback in the league in terms of payment. And he's a top 5 talent in the league. That's a bargain. And I think this was great timing for the Eagles. And I know fans and some of the people in the media are like, oh, they shouldn't have done this because of the 2 injuries. And look, I've been critical of the injuries too. But this is a great opportunity because, like I said, if he went out and had an MVP season next year, got him to the playoffs, heck, if he got him to the Super Bowl next year, you don't think he's going to say, okay, I want my no money now? This was a great time for the Eagles. This is a great move for them. They lock up their quarterback. I think they have the best quarterback in the league now for the next decade. And for the Cowboys, I think subconsciously this move was made to put pressure on Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, saying it's almost like the chess game right now. And the Eagles are saying, all right, it's your move, Dallas. We got our quarterback for the next decade. Ball's in your court, Jerry. And I do think the Dak extension will be done. But let me ask you this. If I had to pay a quarterback over $30 million, who would I rather have, Carson Wentz or Dak Prescott? It's Carson Wentz. And oh, by the way, he's not going to get paid over $30 million for the next 2 years. Dak's going to get paid over $30 million next year. And the Cowboys, they're going to have to let go of some good players because they're not going to be able to afford everyone. The Eagles, meanwhile, they'll still have Carson Wentz on his rookie deal, and they'll be planning, hey, when that deal kicks in, maybe we should trade off some of these veterans or shorten some deals, maybe get some extra draft capitals for those drafts so we can better prepare ourselves. So once again, job well done by the Eagles. They get their quarterback. They lock him up. To me, they have the best quarterback in this division for the next decade, and if he stays healthy, this is the Eagles' division for the next decade. I mean, Dwayne Haskins could be great. Maybe he could challenge him. I like Daniel Jones more than a lot of people, but I doubt he's going to challenge him. And look, I think Dak Prescott, he'll make Dallas, even with a big contract, he'll make them successful. He'll put them in the hunt. But if Wentz is healthy and he's got a good roster around him, which the Eagles will, I have faith in that with their drafting ability and the way they can pull off trades. They're going to be the team to beat in the NFC East. I mean, this could be a division where if Wentz is healthy and he's got the pieces around him, this could be a division like the Patriots in the AFC East where year after year, the Cowboys could play for the wild card, but it's the Eagles division. I mean, this was a great move once again by the Eagles. Great for everyone. And once again, ball's in your court, Jerry. Giants have their quarterback of the future. Washington has theirs. Now the Eagles have theirs. Locked in. What's Jerry going to do with Dak? That's the next big question. And once again, this just shows you why the Eagles clearly have one of the best front offices in the entire NFL. They're one of the few organizations that while everyone's playing checkers, they're playing chess. That's going to do it for this episode of Rich Sports Talk. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Make sure to check out another podcast I did talking about former Eagle Vice President of Personnel, Mike Douglas. He has been signed to be the general manager of the New York Jets. Make sure to check that out wherever podcasts are available, such as SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spreaker, Spotify, and available on Apple and iTunes podcasts. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter using the handle Rich Sports Talk, and submit your questions to richsportstalk@gmail.com. If you'd like to get on the show, that's richsportstalk@gmail.com. But that's going to do it for this episode. Once again, thank you so much for joining us here today, and until next time, I'm your host, Nolan Rich, and this is Rich Sports Talk.